Good day to everyone. In this video, we shall see about the HTTP status codes or the API status codes. These status codes, they are essential components of HTTP responses. They'll indicate the results of a client's request to the server. These codes, they help both the developers and the test engineers to understand how the server it is handled the requests. It provides a standardized way to communicate the success or failure of an API call. Now, why do we need these API codes? These API status codes, they offer a universal language for communicating the outcome of an HTTP request. Both the client and the server, they can understand these codes. And since they can understand these codes, it facilitates in smoother interaction. This will help in identifying the errors and their causes. This is a crucial for debugging and maintaining the robust applications. The test engineers they can automate the tests based on the expected status codes, ensuring that the APIs they behave as intended under various conditions. These status codes they provide an immediate feedback to the clients about the request's outcome, enabling the appropriate actions or user messages. These API status codes they have been divided into 5 types. These status codes they indicate that whether the specific request that is from the HTTP request it has been successfully completed or not. Those responses are grouped into 5 classes. Those 5 classes are informational responses, successful responses, redirectional responses, client error responses, server error responses. We shall see one by one what these response codes means. First is informational responses. These codes they indicate that the server it has received the request and it is processing it. They are primarily used to manage communication between the client and the server during the early stages of a request and response cycle. The response codes it will be from the 100 to 199. Here the response code 100 means to continue. That is the server it has received the request headers and the client it should proceed with to send the request body. Next the response code 101. It means switching protocols. Here the requester has asked the server to switch protocols and the server it has agreed to do so. Next is 102 processing. This status code it is an interim response that indicates that the server it is still processing the request. Next we shall see about the another category that is response code for successful responses. These status codes they indicate the client's request was accepted successfully. That is this class of status codes they indicate that the action requested by the client it was received, understood, accepted and processed successfully. Response code 200 means OK. That means the request has been succeeded. This is the most common response code we get. This status code indicates that the request was successful and the server it has returned the requested data. Next is 201. It means created. This status code it means that the request was successful and the server it has been created a new resource or the request has been fulfilled resulting in the creation of the new resource. Next is 202 means accepted. This response code it indicates the request has been accepted for processing but the processing is not completed. It is 204 no content. The server it successfully processed the request but there is no content to send the response. In other words, it indicates that the request was successful but the server it did not return any data. Next we shall see another category of response codes that is redirectional responses. These status codes they indicate that the client he must take some additional actions in order to complete this request. The response code 300 it stands for multiple choices, which means one request or more which means one request it has more than one responses. which means one request it has more than one possible responses. Next is 301. It stands for moved permanently. This status code it indicates that URL of the requested resources it has been changed permanently and the new URL is given as the response. Next is 302. It stands for found. That means the URL of the requested resource it has been changed temporarily. The new URL it is given by the location field in the response. Next is 304, which indicates not modified. It means that the resource it has not been modified since the last request. Next we shall see another group, that is client error responses. These status codes it indicates that there are few mistakes which might have been in the syntax or in the network related from the client side. In this the response code 400 it stands for bad request. This status code we can see this status code when the server is not able to process the client request because of the reasons like it might be an invalid request or the invalid syntax from the client side. That is, the server could not understand the request due to the invalid syntax. Next is 401. It stands for unauthorized. This indicates that the client he must authenticate itself to get the requested responses. Next is 403. It stands for forbidden. Here the client it does not have the access right to the server content. It is like a unauthorized. Hence the server it is refusing to give the requested resource or the content. Next is 404. It stands for not found. It means the server it is not able to find the requested resource. This may be because of invalid URL like this. Next we shall see another category of response code, that is server error responses. These status codes they indicate that there might be a problem from the server and it is not able to process the client request. Here the response code 500 it stands for internal server error. This error it indicates that the server it is facing some issues and it is not able to know how to handle the request. Next is 501. It stands for not implemented. It means the request method it is not supported by the server and it cannot be handled. Next is 502. It stands for bad gateway. That means the server was acting as a gateway or proxy and received an invalid response from the upstream server. This means this error response means that the server, while working as a gateway to get the response needed to handle the request, got an invalid response. The server it was acting as a gateway and it has received an invalid response from the upstream server. Next is 503. It stands for service unavailable. Here the server it is not ready to handle the request, often due to being overloaded or down for maintenance. The server it is not ready to handle the request. Common causes are a server that is down for maintenance or it may be overloaded. Next is 504. It stands for gateway timeout. We will get this kind of status code when the server it is acting like a gateway and it will not be able to get the responses in time. During that time we will get this kind of status code. That means sometimes when the server it is acting like a gateway, it will not be. That means when the server is acting like a gateway, it will be having the particular time like 1 or 2 minutes to a response should be given. In such cases, when the response is not received within the specified time, then automatically the payment gateway timeout message comes. These are some of the important status codes. Thank you for watching our video. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button so that you do not miss any of our updates or videos. Thank you.